There are those who walk this earth not as souls, but as open mouths. You've felt them. Their words don't just cut, they digest. And if you're hearing this now, it's because part of you already knows. You are their antithesis. This isn't paranoia. This is recognition. Your energy signature is activating, and the parasites of the old world are scrambling to silence you. You've entered the war you never declared, a war not just on your words, but on your energy, your truth, your very essence. It starts subtly, so quietly that even your intuition begins to second-guess itself. A comment made in jest that cuts too deep. A compliment with a knife inside it. A shadow falling over your joy the moment you begin to rise. They don't strike with fists, not at first. No, they strike where you're softest. Your dreams, your creativity, your innocence. The parts of you that still believe in beauty and connection. They weaponize your light. They speak the sacred language, but twist it. I'm just being honest, they say, as they pierce your spirit. This is for your own good. They whisper as they crush your vision. And you feel it, not just emotionally, but physically. Your stomach tightens, your chest contracts. You walk into rooms you used to feel safe in, and suddenly everything feels colder. Their eyes flicker when you flinch. That's the feeding reflex. You see, they don't need your consent. They just need your reaction. This is not new. Look back in history. The inquisitors, the accusers, the ones who smiled as the fire was lit. In 12th century witch trial manuscripts, they were described as aglow with righteous color. During executions, that glow? That's what happens when someone feeds on stolen power. They still exist today, cloaked in family, in colleagues, in so-called spiritual leaders, and they still get high off the energy of your pain. You felt it, that moment when celebration becomes sabotage, when your art is called demonic, when your intuition is mocked. That's the hook. That's how they pull you in. But that's only the first layer. And if you felt it, if you've been hooked, you're not broken. You're being initiated. Stay with me, because we're about to go deeper. History calls them bullies, narcissists, toxic people. But peel back the skin. The real weapon isn't cruelty. It's forced reciprocity. It's the invisible grip that makes you loop your worth through their perception. Their disapproval becomes your obsession. Their moods become your compass. You begin to revolve around their chaos, shrinking your light to survive their storm. They don't just hurt you. They make you believe you deserved it. They implant doubt with surgical precision, turning your compassion into guilt, your clarity into over-explaining, your silence into shame. They don't have to scream to be violent. In fact, the softest accusations often cut the deepest. And it works, doesn't it? You begin asking, am I too sensitive? Or maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I provoked them. And in that moment, they've won. Not the argument, but your attention, your imagination, your inner dialogue. They've hijacked the part of you that dreams, that creates, that believes. They feed on that space. Because what they want is not affection, it's obsession. They don't need your love. They need your loop, your mental replay, your spiral. Because if they can live in your mind, they never have to look at their own. Apologies empower them. Every I'm sorry is not closure. It's confirmation. It tells them they still have a key to your field. Defensiveness feeds them. Your explanations, your justifications, these are delicacies. Because every time you try to prove your purity, you bind yourself to their frame. And in their world, innocence is irrelevant. Only control matters. But silence? That terrifies them. It's the one vibration they cannot metabolize. Your silence is a black mirror. It reflects everything they've worked so hard to hide. It forces them to feel the emptiness they've avoided their entire lives. You see, these entities, these psychic vampires, do not know how to generate energy. They only know how to steal it. They are the embodiment of spiritual entropy, hollow shells pretending to be full, hungry ghosts in human form. But you are not made to feed them. You are made to awaken. You are here to reclaim the sovereignty of your mind, your body, your frequency, your field, your soul. Because once you stop feeding them, the power begins to return. Slowly at first, like sunlight breaking through fog. Then all at once, like a dam breaking. And when it does, they panic, they lash out, they scramble. Because the one thing they can't digest is a soul that knows its own worth. A sovereign being, a mystic who remembers. And now there is one more battlefield left to name. It goes deeper than psyche or skin. It is the one that shaped them all. The archetypal war is coming. Stay with me. This war, it has always worn faces, not literal masks, but archetypes, living patterns that move through time, through families, through bloodlines. It's not just psychological, it's mythic. And you, dear viewer, you've been cast into this cosmic theater, whether you asked for it or not. You see, every cycle of abuse, every energy drain, every betrayal has a deeper story underneath. And if you felt the weight of the world in your chest, it's because you weren't just fighting a person. You are facing an archetype. 3 of them, 3 ancient roles, passed down through generations, unconsciously played out in schools, homes, governments, and temples. These are not just characters, they are forces, and they are moving now. Let me show you the first face, the one that cloaks itself in brilliance, the one who dazzles but devours. They were meant to be creators, visionaries, alchemists, the bringers of possibility, but somewhere along the way, they made a trade. They chose domination over devotion. They traded inspiration for imitation. They corrupted the current. You've met them. Maybe they taught you. Maybe you dated them. Maybe you prayed beneath them, or watched them rise through charisma while their shadows sharpened behind the scenes. They wear robes of wisdom, but their eyes betray them. Their rituals feel sacred but hollow. Their charm is electric, until you see the cost. These beings no longer create, they consume. Not food, not objects, but essence. They speak as if they're channeling divinity, but their true spell is siphoning. Their words enchant you, not to awaken you, but to make you hand over your own fire. They have a way of convincing you that without their approval, you are nothing. They plant a hunger in you, one that only they can fill. But no matter how much validation they offer, it never satisfies, because that emptiness wasn't yours. It was theirs, placed inside you like a curse. Their presence lingers long after they're gone, not because they were profound, but because they wormed into your mind. Their voice becomes the echo you hear in moments of vulnerability. It whispers when you're about to make a leap. It questions you in the middle of your joy. It doubts you in the middle of your truth. And they love innocence. They crave it, not to protect it, but to devour it. Your softness, your awe, your belief in the good. These are delicacies to them. They will flatter you until you glow, then drain you until you collapse. And yet, they are always starving. That's the secret they never want you to know. No matter how much they take, it will never be enough. Because what they need is the one thing they cannot produce: true light. And that's where you come in. The mystic, the chosen, the empath. You carry the light they can't generate. You carry the energy they can't mimic. That's why they find you. That's why they latch on. That's why they try to consume you through shame, control, and illusion. But remember this, you are the living current. You are the true source. They don't choose you because you are weak. They choose you because you threaten their hunger. But this corrupted magician is not the only force at play, because every feeder needs a door, and every darkness enters through an opening. So let's look now at the second figure in this trinity, the one who holds the key, but doesn't know they're holding it, the one who lets them in. But even the most cunning feeder cannot enter uninvited. Every predator needs an opening, every shadow a doorway. And in this ancient pattern, the opening is rarely force. It's rarely loud. It almost never looks like darkness. No, the most powerful gateways are disguised as grace. That's the paradox, the revelation. Sometimes the force that lets the devourer in isn't corrupted. It's holy, not because it chooses darkness, but because it refuses to fear it. Not because it's naive, but because it's coded to transform it. This is the second figure, the one who doesn't dominate or deceive, the one who doesn't attack, but allows, not out of weakness, but out of sacred openness, the one who mirrors without resistance, who dances into chaos without armor, who plays the fool, only to reveal the truth hidden inside the joke. This is the Heyoka, the mirror, the sacred clown, the key holder who didn't know they were holding the key because they are the key. Their presence alone unlocks what's been buried for generations. Their language is confusion, on purpose. Their gift is discomfort, on purpose. Not to harm, but to awaken. And they don't do it by confronting evil with force. They do it by turning the illusion inside out. They don't block the vampire, they starve it. Not by denying access, but by reflecting the spell so clearly that it collapses under its own weight. That's the secret of the Heyoka, the one who lets the shadow in, to expose it, the one who allows the lie to speak, so that everyone can hear its emptiness, the one who appears unguarded, only to disarm the manipulator by letting them overstep, over-explain, and over-reveal themselves. Yes, it may have looked like you let them in, but what if that wasn't a mistake? What if it was initiation? What if you were always meant to be the mirror, the breaker of patterns, the unexpected saboteur of false power structures? What if your role was never to guard the gate, but to be the gate that confuses the predator so deeply they lose their grip on the spell? What if your softness wasn't a flaw, but a frequency so disarming that it turned daggers to dust? You were never the reason the shadow won. You were the reason it revealed itself. And now you remember. Now you reclaim that role, not as the victim of the story, but as the unpredictable glitch in the system. The one who plays along just long enough for the game to eat itself. The one who surrenders not in weakness, but in mastery. You are the Heyoka, the sacred misfit, the mirror trickster, the one who lets them in, not to help them win, but to help them end. There is a sacred paradox buried deep in your lineage, a figure that confuses enemies and initiates alike. The Heyoka, the fool, the trickster whose chaos becomes clarity, not the jester of mockery, but the sacred clown whose laughter disarms, whose backward words unveil what forward language hides. You, the Heyoka, were born for disruption, and yet not in cruelty, but in spiritual shockwaves that wake the sleepers. You don't attack illusions, you reflect them. You don't preach truth, you embody it in ways no one sees coming. Where the feeder distorts truth, the Heyoka dismantles it, shattering the illusion from the inside out. Your laughter comes at funerals, not to disrespect the dead, but to free the grieving from spells of despair. Your confessions seem like admissions of weakness. You're right, I am pathetic, but they short-circuit the vampire's hook. You alchemize chaos into revelation. You flip scripts so fast, the predator bites their own tongue. You are impossible to manipulate because you play along until the manipulator traps themselves in their own game. That's the gift of the sacred fool, mirroring what is without resistance, until what is collapses under its own false weight. Stanley Goodvoice Elk once pretended to be deaf during a tribal negotiation. Why? Because he knew liars speak longer when they believe no one can hear. In that silence, their truth betrayed them. That is Heyoka medicine. But there is one more figure, one more sacred fire still burning beneath the rubble. The final archetype, not the deceiver, not the mirror, the mystic, the one who rises after the storm, the one who remembers, the one who rebuilds. You, the mystic, are the echo of every tower that has ever fallen. You do not fear collapse. You recognize it as invitation. You know that when the feeder's empire crumbles, it is not death, it is transformation. You are the architect now, rebuilding not with bricks of ego, but with light reclaimed from shadow. You are the inheritor of the library, codes, memories, ancient imprints passed through blood and spirit from every awakened one before you. And you carry them now, not in scrolls, in your breath. When you speak, timelines shift. When you cry, ancestral wounds are rinsed. When you stand, others remember how to rise. And as you rise, something activates, a frequency, quiet but unstoppable. It hums through your cells, a homing signal, a beacon for other warriors, other mystics, other lights in the dark. You don't even need to speak it. You become it. Like Tesla's lost page, labeled Vortex of Return. You, dear mystic, are the vortex. You are the pulse. You are the memory. And they are finding you. Because your voice is not just yours anymore. It's a signal, a summoning, a revolution in disguise. Your body has been waiting for this moment. All those headaches, the sudden chills, the strange dreams, the moments of stillness that felt like messages. That wasn't malfunction. That was activation. That was your luminous nervous system coming online. This isn't about being overwhelmed. It's about being rewired. And now, 3 codes, deep in your cellular memory, are turning on. You're starting to notice something. The insults that once pierced you now seem to ricochet. They don't stick anymore. That's not apathy. That's the mirror shield waking up. Your aura has learned how to reflect, not absorb. And suddenly the feeder's curses reveal their true faces, not yours. The smear campaigns backfire because your frequency has become a spotlight. You no longer mirror their pain. You return it. And then there's this strange, rebellious laughter bubbling inside you. Not mockery, not denial, but something deeper, a sacred absurdity. You laugh, not because it's funny, but because the spell is breaking. That's your laughing gene. That's the ancestral frequency of sacred fools rising in your DNA. Every time you giggle at chaos, you break a link in the chain. And next time they attack, whisper it with love, "Thank you for my upgrade."
Arigato.
They won't know what to do with that, because you're not fighting anymore. You're transmuting. You're no longer prey. You're alchemy in motion. And when the venom still comes, and it will, you feel it. But it doesn't stay, because your final code has unlocked, the void conduit. You've become a portal, a sacred furnace. What used to wound you now falls into your field and gets swallowed by the divine nothingness within your chest. A black hole that spins it into fuel. You are turning attacks into momentum, Words into fire. Pain into propulsion. That's what mystics do. That's what awakened nervous systems were built for. You don't fight fire with fire anymore. You let their fire fall in, vanish, and reappear as your light. And now, something is rising. A resonance. A signal. You are not the only one waking up. Across timelines, across lands, across bloodlines, others are hearing the same signal. Some in dreams, some in music, some in silence. But it's happening. The resonance is building. The old world is trembling. You may feel alone, but you are not isolated. There are others. Empaths, mystics, sacred rebels, scattered like stars across this earth, waiting for a vibration they didn't know they remembered. And now, that vibration is you. You're not just healing. You're becoming a tuning fork. Your body, your voice, your presence, these are not just yours. They are instruments of alignment. When you speak, it echoes. When you laugh, others loosen. When you cry, someone else remembers how to feel. This is the resonance shift, and it's not coming. It's here. You are it. And together, we rise. This isn't a community. It's a constellation, a gathering of sacred frequencies finding their way home. And you are a signal in that sky. They want you to think you're outnumbered. They want you to believe that your awakening is a glitch, an error, a threat to your own sanity. But it's not. As of this very moment, thousands of people around the world are hearing these words. Every day, another mystic's third eye ruptures open like a flower that can't be forced shut again. And no matter how tightly they grip the old control systems, the math of light is tipping the scales. You are not alone. You are part of a rising pulse, a convergence. You are not a whisper in the dark. You are the frequency that breaks the system. Remember, they need you to doubt yourself. Because the moment you know, truly know, their hunger becomes starvation. They cannot feast on a soul that's no longer hungry for approval. They cannot twist a truth you're no longer afraid to speak. And now, something is planting itself. This is the revolution disguised as healing. This is the uprising disguised as remembrance. You are never in the maze. You are the exit. Subscribe. We rise at dawn, because what they called too sensitive was always too potent. And the world is just beginning to remember what it truly means to feel. We are mystical illumination, and together we rise. If this message struck a nerve, it wasn't random. You're not just watching this, you're remembering. And if you're ready to walk deeper into this path, if you're ready to reclaim your full frequency, to connect with a tribe of mystics, empaths, and sacred disruptors who speak your language, then join us. Patreon.com/mysticalillumination. Inside, you'll find exclusive transmissions, meditations, behind-the-scenes drops, spiritual warfare guidance, and a private soul family who actually get it. You were never meant to fight this battle alone. You were meant to rise as part of a constellation, and this is where we gather. Step into the signal. Join the mission. Stay lit.